thank you for coming. My name is Michael Rattay. Ball Brain Creative is one half of my business. One of the themes will be pivoting, and so one of my other half, it's creative family memories. So I do family portraits, event photography, family documentaries, digitizing, and that'll be a slide that I get to later, but I think one of the points of if you want it to succeed, you kind of just keep saying yes to a lot of things if people are asking you about it. So that's why I started pivoting. This talk, the way Lisa and I talked about this, is that it will be half roundtable. So I'll kind of zip through a lot of these slides just to get the information out there. Each one of these slides on their own could be like a 45-minute presentation. So I just kind of wanted to put all this stuff out there so you guys at least can think about it, and that gets you down your own YouTube and Google rabbit hole of stuff you want to search for. So only because I watched The Lawyer, I was just saying, and I talk about tax stuff. This is just for entertainment, informational. I'm not a tax person, so this is all bar talk, quote unquote. So I just wanted to start on a pessimistic note. I'm glad that you guys actually have something I was kind of almost preparing that some of the people would have been watching all the Instagram and TikToks of people that make $20,000 a month doing their business, and they're gonna be like, how do I do that? Or that's what I wanted to do. And I just wanted, you start with a rich family, and that's how you become, so that's not the norm. And so I just wanted to start with some of the pessimistic stuff. Can everyone see this actually? Are you guys? Okay. So again, this is all in the slides, so you guys will be able to see it. But this is just a lot of small businesses start, and a lot of them, just as many of them seem to go out of business after a couple years. So 18% within the first year, 50% after 5, and 65 by their 10th year in business. So that's just something to keep in mind. Which is why, again, I sarcastically titled this, Don't Quit Your Day Job, because I think you can have good months, but that doesn't necessarily make the good year. So I think proper planning is going to keep you afloat and alive. So since I was negative, I wanted to go optimistic. Inspiration, it takes twice as long and costs twice as much. I don't know if you ladies have heard that phrase, but get it in your head, because every home project you do, every other grand idea you have is going to take twice as long, and it's going to cost twice as much. And that's what all these businesses, I think, are, because later slide, you'll see that there's so many more expenses that you don't plan on when you doing a business plan or whatever your first idea is. So, and don't lose hope, because now you're your own boss and your own motivator. So it's basically all on you. So again, back to pessimistic just for a minute, and I'm not going to dwell on this because it'll be in the slide. So I'll email this, you guys can read it. But the 4 reasons for the frequent for why small businesses fail: poor marketing of initiatives, inadequate management, financing hurdles, and then unproductive business planning. So that we could spend literally an hour or 2 hours like just talking about this stuff, but I just wanted to put it out there because I think if you know why most people fail, if you start from that square and understand that these are the things that people lose out on, then you can focus on making all of these good for your own thing. So again, it'll be in the email, so you'll be able to read through this a little more thoroughly. But so who am I? Michael Rattay. I'm Ball Brain Creative, you know that. I'm actually the vice president of the Glen Ellen Chamber, and that's where I'm.
Videography and photography to share your story. Ball Brain Creative. Ball Brain was founded by a multi-talented, super creative videographer and social media maven, Mike Rattay. Although Mike started his career as a straight-ahead corporate type, his creative instincts and early training as an animator inspired him to start Ball Brain Creative to market entrepreneurial businesses. Ball Brain works with clients in almost every industry, from craft beers to high-powered law firms, on projects ranging from tours of high-end real estate to recording the activities of professional association events. All are done with a special brand of creativity. That's the hallmark of Ball Brain Creative. But why not hear all about it from the wild man himself? Mike, you're on. Visit boldbrandcreative.com to learn more about their web and marketing services, imaginative videography and photography to share your story.
Okay, so that's me. That's a little promo. You gotta at least give.
Videography and photography.
You gotta at least give a little heads up so you guys know who you're talking or who you're listening to. I founded BaldBrain I think it was like 2016, 2017. And so it's just been, I started because I knew social media was the way of the future. I just saw it as marketing and branding. And so I just literally, I went to school as a filmmaker, but I left that for like 20 years because narrative filmmaking doesn't really pay unless you can kind of figure out the Quentin Tarantino thing, which is, you just become lucky. So once I had a business sense in my mind, I realized that marketing is really what moves all of these businesses. And so that's why I picked up the camera again. I started doing online content, social media, et cetera, et cetera. And it's been 7 years of saying yes to a lot of random things. I network a lot, and one of the guys that I met, he said, for my first year, if someone would have given me $50, I would have changed a car tire. And I think that like sums up your first year in business for sure. Like you kind of just say yes because you don't know what's going on. You can't see when the next thing is coming. And so you just keep saying yes until people really like respond. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Hold on. Everything. Okay. So you want to be your own boss, which means you're also your own marketing person, salesperson, customer service person, operations person, tax person. These are a lot of hats that you got to get your mind around when you start your own business. Again, this is its own presentation right there. What should my business be? It's great that you guys have some ideas, that you know what you want to do. So I think that's probably the first start. One of the most important quotes I think to me that's sort of when I get analysis by paralysis. I don't know if you've heard that phrase, but it's basically where you just take in too much information and you feel like nothing is going to be the right answer, and so you don't do anything. And so now you're smart. You have all this information, but you don't do anything because you're afraid that everything's going to be wrong. So, which is also the phrase, perfect is the enemy of good. Because people, if they want to be perfectionists, they never push anything out because they're just waiting for the best possible thing. And so those quotes, and an ounce of action is worth a ton of theorizing, which means just any bit of movement that you can do that's an actual action in your life, like get it, like literally Saturday is the best possible thing you guys can do. Because then what you're going to do, I'm assuming you're both going to be there like at the table and like, so that's like the market research that everyone wants to do, and that's why like sales is so important, because you get to then, you listen to what everyone tells you. Like they're going to be, oh, I don't like that color, I like glitter. You're not, the other quote that I should put is, you can't please everybody all the time. Like you will never make everyone happy. But hearing the feedback and then 3 hours of people saying like one thing proportionally stands out, that they like slime that's a certain color, like that's a color that you should do, like, and then that's like that's the action you should take. You said candles, so like this. So I'm sorry. So same kind of thing. Like if people start telling you, oh well, I love this fragrance and or color, like that, if people proportionally tell you that, they'll then you should do it. Like say, okay, next, find me or take their info, and then you reach out to them when you do it, and then you try and hit them up. The other caveat, a lot of my stuff I'm gonna like hedge myself, because it's I think it was a Steve Jobs quote about Henry Ford. It's like if Henry Ford asked people what they wanted before he made the Model T, they would have wanted faster horses. So he made a car. You know, like, you can't always rely on customer feedback, but it's still important. Like, you still need to have, like, you need to trust in yourself, which I think I said back there. You need to trust in yourself because you're going to take a bunch of leaps of faith, and the jump from like here to like when you actually land is going to be kind of frightening. Like, you're going to be like, I don't know if I'm really, like, is this really the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And then you land, and then, oh, okay, I was right. But there's going to be a while where it like doesn't make sense, and you feel like you're not getting any positive feedback. So you need to be strong in your conviction. Also, so this is a discussion. If anyone has questions, put up your hand. Otherwise, we'll just do it later. How to make money. Don't be afraid to pivot early. Start with an idea, then assess what you can get paid for. So again, that's an ounce of action. You're selling candles, and then you figure what else could go under there. Like, oh, do you do birthday candles? It's like, no, that doesn't make sense, but maybe it does because if everyone's asking for it. Or like others, like wedding candles, because then you just want to get into the wedding industry because everything has like a 300% markup. So you're like, oh, well, I could sell the same candle to just put a wedding dress on it, and it's like $50 compared to $10. So, but that's where I think knowing what you want to do, or like what you do, you'll find your middle ground as to. Thanks, Lisa. So yeah, that's where the middle of your Venn diagram is where you'll find the money. So I just did this, how to calculate your income. This doesn't even include costs, but just to like put in your head, okay, ideally I'd like to make $3 or $5 grand a month. I don't want to say, like, you're kind of in the widget business, which is like you wouldn't sell 3 to 10. You'd probably sell like 100 or 200 a month in theory. So like then that's where like a business plan is good, but at the same time, like if you don't sell anything, like it's an optimistic plan that doesn't have anything backing it. So it's like, it's hard to, business plans are good because you need to understand how you're going to make money, but this is how you can like visualize, okay, if I sell X blank, I need to sell 10 of these a month, and that's how I'll make my money. Which later I get into marketing and sales, like, because you close 20 to 30% of the leads, like people that you get in touch with, because not everyone's going to buy from you. So then it's like, okay, if it's 30%, and then, if I need to sell 200, and that's 30% of, let's say, like 1,100 or 1,200, whatever that number is, like, so you need to at least meet 1,200 people per month, or at least like get 1,200 people to like see your stuff to then hopefully buy. So it's, again, all these slides could be an hour. I'm just trying to. Accounting, again, this is a big thing. I was lax about this until until I met an accountant, and she's like, just sign up for QuickBooks. So what I've come to the conclusion is that basically, as long as you get like a separate bank account, thankfully with the internet, like all of your accounting is mostly done there. As long as like you're gonna buy some wax or the glue to make the slime or the dye, like if you're buying it from this business account, like all the expenses go there. Whatever money you make, you deposit it into there. Like touching the money is what we talk about later with LLC and sole proprietor things. Like that's, again, a whole other can of worms, but that's one of the easiest ways for you to like do your accounting. It's just a simple business account. Okay, so have you guys done LLC? Does anyone have LLC or nonprofit, or do you guys, okay. So again, these are things that like a lawyer or a tax person should talk about. I just wanted to reference the things that I've come across. LLC, here, you'll see it right here. This is, which is again why I wanted this. You'll see this on the slides. LLC is like the cheapest, I think it's like $75 in Illinois to literally set it up. And if you look to the right, LLC. So self-employment tax, personal tax, or corporate tax. So like that's one thing, and then this is the other thing. Owners are not personally liable. There's like the corporate veil, and you can turn on all the news and you can be like, how is this oil company not like in trouble for spilling 50 billion gallons of oil? It's like a corporate shell that they're like protected under. Like they don't hold any of the people under it liable because the company is a person. Like in the eyes of the law, like they're a person. The company as an entity is a person. So like that's where you go from sole proprietorship, where unlimited personal liability, partnerships, still personal liability, to then you get to the LLC. For what you guys are saying, like, this is where, and I hate to be negative, but this is one of those things where it's like someone's going to choke, say a candle explodes or someone chokes on the slime, they come back to you and you're like, you should know not to eat slime, or and then that's like one of those things why I'm hoping it's not going to be an issue. It shouldn't be an issue now, but like that's why people end up doing these things, just to protect yourself. So these things, we don't even get into corpse. I did that, but I honestly probably could have just did that, because if you do a C Corp, you need to register an agent, you need to file like a business. It's like $600 of extra fees for like having the corporation versus because then it's like corporate taxes, but then the money stays in the corporation, and then you need payroll for me to access my money. Otherwise it stays in the business and I just use it for business expenses and stuff like that. So it's where a lawyer can talk about this for an hour or 2 hours. Any questions right now? Any thoughts? No? Okay. So networking is to me, that was when I started my business. I didn't even have real cards. I didn't even tell the full story. So when I started my thing, since I saw social media and branding as the way of the future, I was just like, well, if I can't do it for myself, I can't do it for other people. So I just started. As I said, I was an animator, so I have all these crazy ideas. So I thought, let me start brands and let me just promote them. And so one of the things I did, it was Bulb Brain Gallery. And what I did, I had this, it's like literally that big. It was in Andersonville Galleria. It was this in Chicago. It was just, they have probably how Saturday is going to be, but it's this big warehouse, and all artists have like a spot like that where they sell stuff. So I was selling 16 by 20 prints, 11 by 17, 8 by 10s, and then postcards, because I just wanted to do the branding and just test it out. Because doing that, then you see the 16 by 20s I'd try and sell for, obviously those were the high ticket items. Those were the $80 or something. And then I'd sell postcards for like $5. And then you'd sell the 16 by 20s maybe one every 3 months. And I was like, okay, so that's not a viable strategy, because they still want rent. Whether you sell or not, they still want rent. So then that's when I added postcards and packs, and merchandising is this whole experiment of end caps and all that stuff. So when I realized I wasn't going to make the money in that, I was like, okay, well, this branding thing, and I know cameras, and I'm good with the social media marketing thing. That's when I literally just found, it was I think I decided I wasn't going to do the gallery on a Thursday, and then I searched on Facebook, and on Monday morning I went to networking breakfast, and it's just 30 people. You don't know anybody. You literally walk into a room. Everyone's got cards. Everyone seems to know each other. I cut my postcards in 4, and I hand wrote my stuff on there. Literally, just it's I wanted something, and so networking, I think it's networking and sales can have a really icky, if you think of used car salesmen or certain people, it's an icky thing, but it truly is the lifeblood of all of our businesses. Like any business you have, people need to buy from you for you to make money to keep doing it. And so networking, what I learned when I first did it, I thought, okay, so I need to sell these people all the time because this is like what I need. Like I just need to sell people to make money, and it's a lot of pressure. But then networking is like, it's a bunch of other small business owners that are like also doggy paddling around in the pond of small business. And so like they're also looking for connections and people. And so a lot of the times it's not even like they will buy your product, but they may be even the people that like refer you, because they're going to like other meetings and they're meeting other people, and they say, well, I've been thinking about doing a video, or I need a new headshot for my LinkedIn. And it's like, oh, I know Mike. He's great. And so like that's what networking becomes. Like it's not, you're not sitting across from somebody really selling them for their business, but you just like really want to just connect with them. And it's just being friendly with, literally being friendly with them. And then you see what happens. So I think that's very important to a lot of businesses. And it takes time though, that's the other thing. It takes a lot of time. Sales, again, this will be fast. This could be a whole presentation just on sales. But here I kind of just did some of the percentages because then it just gets your mind to think about it. You know, one of the sales tradings that I've done here, the conversions, 250 total leads, 1,000. So I mean, it's like 25% of social media people like close, which is like close meaning give you money. So like you just got to see like how many people. So 1,000 people see it, 250 people actually click your ad to go to the website, and then I think that doesn't even say the sales. So I mean, that's even click through. So like people that give you money is probably like 25 out of those 1,000. Like it's like, and even hearing those numbers are just daunting. We're just like, geez, that's like, I thought I read somewhere it was like 0.02 or something that like people close. Like, so you got to reach a lot of people. I think that's my point. Like, just don't get discouraged right away. Like, you got to just keep spreading the word. Like, keep staying true. Keep believing in yourself. There's a ton. You can just go YouTube, sales books. I have some at the end, but Forbes and Inc., HubSpot. A lot of those, you say like the top sales books, and they recommend like 50. So that'll give you your own thing. So again, it's its own huge thing. It deserves way more than just one slide. I'm only glossing over it for time, but I just want you all to know how important that is. And it looks different to everybody because everyone, even the social media posting that people do, like, I mean, that is their sales, So like, if you figure that out so you don't feel gross like doing it, it's whatever works for you, because you got to do it like day after day after day. And so, also marketing. Marketing is just as important as sales. As you went to skipped ahead. Right there, this is the marketing. So marketing is like telling people about your business. Selling is people actually giving you money. So it's like this right now technically is like part of my marketing. Like I believed in branding, and so branding is sort of, branding is just doing like the best thing all the time, and then that sort of reputation like follows you. So, hopefully you guys will be like, oh yeah, I heard this guy, you check out my social media, and you'll tell somebody else that they're saying, I need good photos or videos. Like, I consider this my marketing. That's like what it is. So you'll probably have similar presentations, how to make candles, how to do the slime. That's the weird thing. I say it right there. How-to videos for your business on YouTube. Like, again, this is how I got here is I did an hour marketing presentation to Trisha, and one of the Ignite business people, and she liked me, and that's where she referred me to Lisa. So I do have stuff on my YouTube where you can, read more or watch more about marketing, but Basically, Google is the #1 search engine. YouTube, which is also owned by Google, is the #2 search engine. Like, so that just think about that. What people usually do when they go on YouTube is they're like, how do I? Like you're searching differently on Google than you are on YouTube, because YouTube, like, you're looking for some sort of visual representation of the thing. Like, how do I fix plumbing is like an easy thing. How do I fix my leaky sink? Or how do I change a tire? And then I've done videos like the best kind of microphones for shooting video, like different cameras, different lights, like all of those things. They're kind of like, if I tell people about those things, I don't think it necessarily deters, it like builds trust, right? Like that's the whole point of this. Like you're doing this because you want someone to like believe that you have knowledge in whatever your thing is. And then so when they get stuck, so everyone's going to get their phone, they're going to try and do some content, they're going to realize how big of a pain in the butt it is when they do that with their phone, and then they're going to have to edit it, and they're going to be even more upset because editing is a pain in the butt, and the audio isn't going to be right, and the lighting is going to be weird, and that's when I hope people call me. So that's why I would do videos to help people. Like people will figure it out, like, but then, ironically, I don't have a slide about time management, but time management is the other most important thing about having your small business, because like you could spend 8 hours deleting emails and responding to spam, and that really wasn't an effective day. And so like, time management is like what gets you money. That's like, because that's what keeps your business alive. And so it's one thing if it's just you, but if it's another thing if you got like other people. And then we're not even talking about hiring salespeople or whatever, but yeah, so marketing, you guys know, usually at the start I say, what's your favorite social platform? Are you on Instagram? No? TikTok? Snapchat? Do you read other people's stories? Do you like view other people's stories, or just like message with friends?
Yeah.
How about you? Do you like YouTube?
Yeah. Oh,
Instagram?
With my kids.
TikTok, am I too old for that?
No.
I love it. I've learned so much. There's doctors on there, cooks, so.
And that's the other point of it. And like, and the fun of asking this is like you see, this is the gamut. And I have a great slide, which I should have put here, but I didn't want to go crazy on marketing. But it's in one of my other videos where you can see a lot of these other platforms where it's like who hangs out on the platform, like which age, because that's the other thing. Understanding your age, like who you're selling to, is like why you should be on which platform. So like YouTube is that's like, I think that's at like, one of my cameras, that's like at 70%, where like people are just, it's like every age group is on YouTube. Like it's just one of those things that's surpassed all, because Facebook is the old people thing. Although I think it's great because I'm older, I guess. But it's got, one of the things that Facebook has that like TikTok and Instagram don't have is these neighborhood groups. And I was sleeping on those for a while, but like people are on there like, hey, does anyone know a handyman? Does anyone know a blank? And like, you get 50 replies. Not even, like this is where again, your marketing and your word of mouth from people, where like I've seen, like I put, people are like, I need a family photographer. I'm like, well, Creative Family Memories can do it. But then there's like other people, you get like 3 past clients that are like, oh, this person is good. So like if you're looking at it, you get 50 comments. Like imagine you're the person that posts that, like I need a photographer. You get 50 comments, you see 3 people that say one name, like they're gonna be top of mind. So like that's kind of SEO in the neighborhood groups in Facebook comments. Like that's a weird, but that's how it could be useful. So, which is why, again, this is marketing. I won't even go into that, but this is why I do think it's important to have a presence on all of these platforms. Like, once you know what you're doing, it's going to be klutzy for a minute. You're going to figure it out. But like the long videos that you make for YouTube can easily be 90-second videos on Instagram and 90-second videos on TikTok. And even same thing for Facebook. So I mean, it's like you can repurpose it. Yes, the content, like the resolutions are different, but really, you know, YouTube is widescreen, or this widescreen, whereas the other ones, like it's if this were 90 degrees. But as long as you're like filming in the middle, I mean, it's the same thing. Like that's how to do a smart crop. Like filmmaking, it's like the rule of thirds. So like you would be more here, but then you crop, and then I'm going to be cut off here, and then you get that side. So once you know that you're going to be on other platforms, you just start filming in the center, and then you can take the same footage and you can post it on all the platforms. Because if you start making videos specifically for everything, you're going to go nuts. But that's why you can be intelligent with what you're doing and post it on all the platforms. So, which again, I know this isn't marketing, but what this also helps, having these things, because you have your website, and then you have all these social platforms, and then when people search specifically for your company, that's something that helps your SEO as well. So because then you have like these 5 or 6 like options for people to see you in the SEO. So it's like, oh, okay, that builds credibility. So, but then of course you can do that in all of the platforms, like Instagram and Facebook. They all have their own little thing. So why is this jumping? So anyways, marketing, contracts. I got a couple more left, and then we can definitely just talk. And if you guys want to, please jump on. Contracts are one of the most important thing for your business. And that's the way I've gotten burned, because I didn't, especially when you're starting off, you're loose, you don't know exactly what you're gonna like. You're giving me money in exchange for this. And for lack of a better time, you almost gotta get burned like a couple times to know what you want to put in a contract. Like it sucks, but that's like why contracts came. Like people kept getting burned. They're like, screw it. We're writing this down. You're signing your name. You're not screwing me over. Because if people, as you'll see in the bottom, and this is something I had to learn the hard way, you try and get, because when I do a video for somebody, it could take a month and a half to who knows how long from when we film to edit to when you give it to somebody. So it's like, what you want to try to do is like, okay, can I get 25% or 50% just to like lock in the day? I'm going to start thinking about their project. Like the second they give me money and we agree to it, like I'm going to be like, okay, what is their business? Like, how am I going to make their video interesting? And so like, this is part of your time. And so where I've gotten burned is I've given people the video and I was like, okay, and then just pay me. And then they ghost you and you're like, are you serious? Like, I've talked to you about my kids, like, and you really just gonna like ghost me like that? So that's where you gotta get burned and you gotta learn your lesson, but get the rest of your money before you give your thing. Like, whatever your last thing is, make sure you say, okay, I will give you this, but I need full payment before I'm giving you your thing. And the people that balk are usually the ones that were gonna ghost you anyways. So it's like, they were going to screw you over anyway, so it doesn't matter. But that's true. Like, and even you don't even need a lawyer, to like sign. Again, informational. You guys may have bigger projects than me, but like, you can just say, I'm going to do this video for X amount of dollars in this amount of time. Like, that's as basic as your contract is. Like, just both of you sign it, and that's. Again, you can write something better up with a lawyer and whatnot, but just something basic so everyone, because if they ghost you, it's just a conversation, because they'll just say, no, I didn't say that. And you'd be like, no, I think better of people, but there's always a couple bad apples, so just be aware. And then to be pessimistic again, you will fail. And you got to think about that because it's tough, but I believe these bottom two quotes are kind of business. Like, Success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. Because everything you're going to do, you're going to, like, I consider it school. I mean, this is where I think people joke where they say it's the school of hard knocks, which it kind of is. I mean, everything you're going to learn about business, about like, excuse me, like all the candles that you take, if you're using glass jars and then 20 of them break on the way to like this thing, you know, like, and then that totally blows, like, that was all your product and you can't sell because that was the money that you're going to use to make new product. Like, that's learning, you know, like this is all learning. It sucks. No one wants to do it, but like to have that, the ability to just keep going when it sucks, I think is where like everyone, that's where people that stick around. Like even just every little thing, like even going to those first couple networking meetings are just like so intimidating. But like I didn't get business in the first one. It was always like 10 meetings. And so it's like, again, to think of that jump of like, you're not getting any feedback. You're like, okay, is this the right thing? I'm spending money on lunch. I'm doing, you know, you're spending all this money. You don't get anything. And then someone's like, here's $500. Help me with my social media. And you're like, okay. So, you know, like, but it takes a minute for it all to land. So, which is why I started it with don't quit your day job, because it's always going to take twice as much money and probably twice as long as you assume. But, you know, results may vary. And that's where I think that Thomas Edison, I've not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Because I think that's the optimism you need to have, because there's going to be a lot of bad apples, there's going to be a lot of stuff that doesn't really work out like you want it to, but you know, you can try working for people and see how that goes, but then there's going to be something that feels better when you meet people and they just give you checks. And you're like, oh yeah, that does feel really good. But then there's that canyon of like, okay, it's a slow time, it's the holidays, what's going on? So, and again, I wanted to end with this quote too. An ounce of action is worth more than a ton of theory. Because any little move you do in a right direction towards your business, like it's better than literally just sitting, no offense, it's just like better than sitting there and doing nothing. Like if you meet 4 people, it's all better than nothing, and all that happens from some kind of action. And so just any kind of action, and that's the symbolism of that, where it's just like, just anything that's actual action is worth its weight. So, and then positive, accept yourself, love yourself, and keep moving forward. If you want to fly, you have to give up what weighs you down, which is, again, I don't even want to get into the mental thing of like imposter syndrome. That's a whole other hour-long slide that like people deal with, and they're like, well, I can't charge that much. Like, I'm not really a professional yet. I'm like still figuring it out. It's like, okay. So, but you wear it on your sleeve. I think that's the other thing that's important. Like how you present to people is how people see you, which is like a big philosophical thing to say, but like, you know, that's why it's, you gotta act the part, you gotta dress for the part kind of thing, and then people will see that, and then that's the whole secret law of abundance, blah, blah, blah. So, but again, that's a whole other, that is personal coach, that's a personal coach career, that like 3 sentences that I just gave. So yeah, so I don't think this really applies to you, but I just wanted how to get work. I mean, these are just some of the basic sites. Thumbtack, TaskRabbit, those are like pay for leads anywhere from 10 to 30 bucks a person. You say you do X job, I'll shovel snow for 40 bucks. They may charge you $5 to get that person's info. Chances are you'll go through 10 of those people you'll give them a quote, they'll ghost you, and then eventually someone will hire you and you say, okay, well, I just spent $60 to get 50. Does that make sense? And unfortunately, that's a lot of business. And that's where you're figuring it out. So Facebook, Craigslist, Upwork, Fiverr, all those things. There's like, so yeah, and that's where I said, say yes to everything. I think if it's in a wheelhouse, think of your wheelhouse. Again, I'm more service. So like, one of my first gigs was designing a website for somebody because I just know how to do websites. It wasn't my focus, but I can do it better than they can. And so it's say yes. So these are a couple books and movies. E-Myth Revisited. This is more about like creating a business. And his thing is kind of like the baker. You want to be a baker, but you're not an accountant and you're not a marketing person. And so that's kind of like hiring for the roles. Because again, this is the time management thing where X amount of your time is going to be done doing the thing, like filming and editing. Like that's a lot of time. But then I still need to find clients and I need to do stuff like this. So it's E-Myth is one of those. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's kind of the standard, I think, for a lot of people where for intro to sales. He's just got like a lot of basics of like, just be nice to people, smile, like don't get involved with conflict.
Criticize or complain.
Yeah. Which is, so many people don't know that, right? So it's like, it's good to find that. Shoe Dog is the story of Nike. It's basically like 15 years of him struggling and almost failing until he finally gets, who was it? Was it Jordan? I don't know if it was Jordan. But
Steve Prefontaine.
Yeah, and then even that didn't go well. Because, yeah.
University of Oregon.
So that Shoe Dog is took him 15, everyone knows Nike now. We may be wearing them, but it's like 15 years of almost failing. Do you have that stomach for like 15 years of almost failing? Which is again why I started Don't Quit Your Day Job, because it may take 3 times as long and 3 times as much money. Movie, Blackberry. I just watched this. I thought that was pretty funny. It's R, but I guess you guys are all 17, so there's just swear words in it. But it's it because Blackberry was the biggest thing, and then iPhone. And then it's like, oops. Like they didn't, and then those last like 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, which, giving away I guess you all know what happened to Blackberry, but like, they were, everyone's focused, and all of a sudden, like, Apple comes out with the iPhone, and it's like, what? Like, what do you even do? Like, you can't even respond to that. You're like, okay, well, we're going to make a better keyboard. It's like, no one wanted a keyboard anymore. Like, they just wanted the big screen. And so it's like, so it's interesting. The founder, it's the McDonald's story, Ray Kroc, where he bought the idea from these brothers, but he calls himself the founder, which is kind of this whole Tesla, Elon Musk thing. He didn't found it. He bought it, or he took over the guy. I won't get into it, but that's, people can be gray about it. And How I Built This with Guy Raz. It's like an NPR podcast, but it's like 20 to 30 minutes where he just like talks to the founders. And so a lot of things is like you got to read between the lines because a lot of them is going to be sugar-coated and it's not going to be the true story, which is where I think that Shoe Dog does a good job of like, it's just like failings and shortcomings, whereas Guy Raz, it's like 2 minutes pass by for what was 5 struggling years. You're like, yeah, it was really tough. And then we got this thing. It's like, yeah, but 5 years is a long time to just like tread water. And so just be wary of like a lot of, that's why I'm glad none of you came in like, I see these people are making 30 grand a month. Like, what do I do? So, but that's me. You guys all have cards. Thank you. But again, I zipped through it, but hopefully you got some info.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
How do you manage your time? You mentioned you have children, so you have credit card chairs, so to be able to do all that, like these young ladies at school, and like, do you get up extra early? Or?
Yes, for pre-COVID, I was the 4 a.m. to like 7 a.m. I would do like my editing, and then it was like I get the kids up, and then we go to school, and then for a while, last year was the first year where both of them just did full day stuff. But this is, you just like, that's where like time management is like a whole thing that like I think that's one of the things that can truly kill you is like if you're not aware of like social media and email are not effective uses of your time, like ever. So as long as you can really, really minimize those and you just need to be very intentional, you know, like my 3 hours in the morning, there would be no emails. I would just know I'm doing work because 30 minutes later, and you know, like I need those 30 minutes. So like you have to be intentional with your time management, and it just fits. You just figure it out. It's like, that's why, and it's all part of this big puzzle because you don't know what money, like you're probably having a part-time job or some other thing too, like while you're starting this, so you just see what goes in there. And one of the theories is like, hire the first people like for stuff you don't want to do, which I did that for a minute, and I think that was a poor use because I should have hired somebody for sales, because hiring someone to like do some stuff you don't want to do that doesn't bring you money isn't that important, you know, like, but if you hire someone for sales, then you're like, they're literally paying for themselves. Like that's the nice thing about sales people is like, okay, you get a commission out of every sale. They're like, okay, heck yeah. And so they're going to bring you business. So then it's like, do you have the capacity to keep up with whatever they're going to bring you? And so that's the whole like give and take with that.
What's been the biggest joy for you, or the biggest surprise of doing all this that made you realize, yeah, I'm glad I'm doing this?
This is going to sound, and I hate to talk about money so much, but like it's one of those things that like, when I got a really big project, and that was just like, because it was like 4 years of like, you know, singles, and it's like finally you get a grand slam, you're like, okay, it's validated, like that's it. And because then that also like totally changed my mindset, because like I was already thinking, you know, I'm like, fine, I'll do like $1,000 video, like let's just do that. And like you realize there's so much that goes into that, and you just, if you want to help entrepreneurs and small business, like they don't have money, so it's like they're like, well, I got $600. I'm like, all right, you know, I know you're great. I got nothing else going on next week. Like, let's do it. You know, like so then you do that, but then it was like once I hit the grand slam, it's like it just validates, and then it can just shift my mind to be like, okay, this is where it can be feasible. I'm still up the mountain. I'm not saying like I'm looking over anybody by any means. Like I am still climbing the mountain, crawling, you know, like whatever it is. Like, but I left my corporate job to do something fun, like something that I love. And being creative and arty is like fun, but it's hard. It's hard. What about you, ladies? Any questions? Anything feel good? Take some photos, do some videos. I think time lapses will be good. Like for both of you, the processes are, it's interesting. People want to know how to make it, and then you can do classes. Have you done classes of like how to make your thing? That's like one fun thing, you know, you can talk to them here, say, well, can I have an hour on a Saturday? And again, this is where the money comes out. You say, okay, well, I'll provide the supplies, which is maybe it'll be $150 or whatever it is, and then it's your time. But then you can show people how to do that, and then theirs won't look as good as yours. And so in theory, they'll be like, well, let me just buy yours, you know, like. So that's why you'll keep pivoting and hopefully just keep at it. Thanks for coming. Thank you, I appreciate it.